What's up, everybody? This is Carson, and I just got a big package from China. China! And so, yeah, we're going to open this bad boy. And you are going to share in the joy of seeing new action figures for the first time with me. Thought you guys might enjoy that. All right, so for those of you that have been following Operation Recall, we have been working on these toys for years. It all started with one figure. It was just going to be a chapter in the book of The Art of G.I.JOE Real American Hero Omnibus hardcover. And now we are down to the point where we actually have prototype figures from the factory. So that's what these are. Here we go. So these are what's called check models. And check models are basically, you do 3D modeling for all this stuff. We started by hand sculpting these. So I did, the bucks were 3D printed, and I mailed those to the sculptors, and they added their own sculpting work on top of those using the old methods, plumber seal epoxy and such. And so we followed the old methods all the way up until the point that we got their hand sculpted stuff scanned at the factory. And then I worked with a couple of 3D modelers, mostly Carter the Conqueror on Instagram, if you want to check him out. He's amazing, another former Hasbro guy. And the guy that's project managing this, Big Joe, is a former Hasbro Far East guy as well. So we've got two former Hasbro guys kind of picking up where the 1980s and 90s former Hasbro guys leave off. So this entire project, pretty much start to finish, is filled with veterans of the Toy Wars, which is really, really cool. So first up, we have Breacher and Hellhound. So this is the first time I've seen these in action figure form at 3 3/4, 1/18 scale, and I am smiling cheek to cheek. I am just grinning like a pig in shit. I'm so happy right now. I hope you guys enjoy this as well. So this is our dog, Hellhound. Now, you'll notice Hellhound has 12 gauge shotgun shells right here, and that's because Breacher carries a Keltec KSG shotgun. And I have one of those myself. It is a lot of fun to shoot, and so honestly, that's why it made it into the figure. There's a lot of little personal nods here. You're inspired by your life, and it tends to make its way into your work. There's a medical packet here. We will not be painting that red because the Red Cross sued Hasbro, or threatened to sue Hasbro, I should say, after Doc was released in 1983, and that's why Lifeline in 1986 and Stretcher in 1990 had their own unique new kind of identifying logo. So yeah, this dog just looks amazing. I should mention that Hellhound is a Belgian Malinois, which is a special operations warrior dog, very common around here. I live in Southern Pines right next to Fort Bragg, and there's a lot of Belgians. The boys like the Belgians. Okay, so anyway, on top, there are 40 millimeter grenades, and that's because Breacher also has a China Lake grenade launcher. So he's carrying 12 gauge rounds for the shotgun. He's carrying grenades for the grenade launcher. He's got the little handle to be carried by Breacher whenever rappelling out of a helicopter or something, rappelling down a building, wall, whatever the action adventure scenario. So a couple changes that are going to happen to Hellhound. The fur is going to be a little more pronounced, and the neck is going to be articulated. So the mold will be cut down the middle, and the head will be its own little piece, and it'll have a swivel action to it like that. So that's not showing on this product, but it will be on the final product. So I hope you guys dig it. I think he looks really, really good. I'm honestly not sure why there's two Hellhounds in here. They're two different material colors. I'm not sure what that's about. Let's see if I can see much difference. I don't think so. I don't think I can see much difference. But anyway, they both look fantastic. Obviously, this is a shinier material. than this. This is more of a matte finish material. All right, so we'll set Hellhound aside. He looks awesome. So you get a sense of scale. The tip of his ears come right up about to his hip line, you know, right at the top of that kind of thigh ball joint. So that's how big the Hellhound should be. And for all these things, before I send them off to China in terms of the hand-sculpted figures or the accessories in 3D, I create something called a Scale Master that has the actual measurements of the real-world item. So if that thing exists in the real world, then we want it to be, you know, close to that thing. So the China Lake, for example, the Keltec, I look up what the actual length is of those things, and then I break them down to our scale and make sure we have correct measurements. So Breacher has a tremendous amount of detail in him. He looks so good, man. Shout out to Carter the Conqueror, who came in after Bill Markline and helped us out with revisions after we had this scanned. Like there's little chink marks in the forearm armor, like he's been battling with some ninjas and they've caught him on the gauntlets a couple times. He's got kind of the Batman gauntlets, these little rigid, and these are sharp, and that's the way it'll be on the toy. I like it. I like the way that feels. That feels great. We do have swivel wrists, as you can see, and so the hands will be printed in a slightly softer plastic. That way you won't get any broken thumbs, broken fingers, and these hands will actually be swappable. One of the things that we're doing for Breacher is we're going to offer an alternate hand where instead of the hand being up, the hand is going to be forward, and that's so when he's carrying the China Lake grenade launcher, his hand will be tilted forward so you can kind of point it forward. So it's looking like he's going to come with two left hands. One for when he's holding the China Lake and one for when he's not. All right. So yeah, these are, you know, kind of consistent with vintage O-ring figure construction with the addition of the wrist articulation, which I don't want to make too many articulation points if it creates these like ugly aesthetic breaks. We've all seen modern figures that maybe have a couple too many articulation points and the body just looks terrible because of where the breaks are in it. And so I want to keep with this, you know, vintage O-ring aesthetic, but add the articulation in the wrist, and I don't think you sacrifice aesthetically in doing so. So, yep, as you would expect, full articulation on the swivel, the elbows, swivel elbows, bending elbows, of course, articulated wrists, of course, ball joints on the shoulders, as you would expect. Everything's functioning nicely. Ball joints on the shoulders. And you can, you know, I'm just kind of checking these for friction fit. You want to make sure that these things are going to hold their poses, right? And you can hear it. Probably you guys can hear that friction fit. So it looks like we've got these pretty well dialed in. All right, so he's got a bunch of kind of pouches around the belt, lots of nice detail. This is an LED light that he can turn into strobe mode when he's kicking doors down and wants to disorient people. Got these nice straps going over, holding that big piece of body armor on. Got this kind of under armor and more pouches on the back, more pouches on his bottom. Nice little military belt. He's got some additional 40mm grenades right there on his leg. He's got a knife, because nothing says vintage like a boot knife. Got some nice knee pads that are built into the lower legs. Very detailed feet. Look at the treads on these. I love it. I love it. I mean, this is how O-rings are improving. So yes, we want that vintage aesthetic, but we want to do better than what they did in 1990. And so I think Operation Recall is absolutely going to achieve that. We're going to do some things that the creatives wanted to do back in the day, but weren't allowed to do, like have variation in scale, and we'll get to that later. But we're also going to add, you know, very detailed treads on the boots. We're going to have the hands have a little bit more of a pistol grip, you know, with a little bit of a trigger finger extension there. So it still looks like vintage, but it's got that little trigger finger out, which we think is cool. Yeah, this guy's great. The hat, it looks like is printed separately as a separate piece right up top. And then if we do a different version of this figure, we could do one without the hat that has the full hair, and then we could do a helmeted version of him. But for now, he's from Texas. He's an old SWAT boy from Texas. So he's got a little Texas logo there. That is not any official team logo. That is just a generic Texas icon of a bull. FYI to any companies out there. Got some nice detail on the hands here, some padding on the gloves. So yeah, this guy's looking fantastic. Oh yeah, he can of course sit completely. You know, some of these modern O-rings have failed to have proper articulation. One of the places they failed was the knees didn't bend all the way and the legs couldn't go all the way up, and you couldn't, you know, sit in a vehicle or whatever. So yeah, he's looking great. I have zero complaints. Zero complaints. It looks amazing. Got nice little real looking fabric folds in the shoulders here. Real wrinkles, you know, right back there above the pocket. I cannot say enough how nicely detailed these are. So exciting to get it in hand. All right, moment of truth. Let's get the KSG in the right hand. There we go. And yep, so the length is kind of right there to the bottom of the hand. And then let's bring it over with the swivel. And then of course, since you have the swivel wrist, you can turn that just like that and place it right there. It's just that softer plastic. You really can kind of mash it in there. And yeah, look at that nice grip on that KSG. Wow. So the KSG holds 7 rounds down one side and 7 rounds down the other side, and mine's got a little wrist extension on it where you can flip the button just using your wrist, like, and it flips the button. So you can shoot 14 shells in a row with a Kel-Tec KSG. If you can't clear the room with those 14 rounds, you probably don't deserve to win. I should say that these are modeled by Mark Jerwig, who is a real-world veteran, spent 20 years in the Navy, I believe. And then he's out and he's modeling amazing toys, and we are very happy to have him on the team. And then this is the China Lake grenade launcher. Of course, you can do the pump action on the China Lake as well. Let me get that right up here. There you go. See how that hand had a little flex to it? That's really nice, man. But we're going to have a left hand that holds it so, you know, instead of across the body like that, say if you wanted to actually like cock it with one hand and then point it at the target, for example. See how he's just kind of holding it at an upward angle like that? We're going to twist the hand so that the hand goes forward like that. So that'll be on the next version of this, but I'm digging these softer hands. All right, let's get them all geared up, and we'll move on to the next one. Get that KSG. There we go. Oh yeah. We're going to have branded figure stands. So this is the Atlas logo. They are part of the Atlas team, the good guys. And it has a nice little ridge on the back here. I'll call it a ridge, where you can insert the card back and have your file card or the full card back. Yeah, that looks great. On display with your figure. So that'll be cool. That's another, you know, innovation. They didn't do that back in the day, but we want to do some cool new stuff with these figures to improve upon what was done in the past. Take the best from the past and, you know, improve upon it. So there's our boy. He looks amazing. We'll stand him over here with his buddy Hellhound and his other buddy Hellhound, and we'll move on to the second one. All right, so Breacher and Hellhound are the only good guys that are coming for Wave 1. So they're a little bit outnumbered, but don't worry, Wave 2, they're going to be coming hard. Atlas is going to be coming hard. All right, let's see who we have next. Should be Mazumu Core. Nope, Dark Reapers. All right, this is the single most popular, in terms of order quantity, figure for Operation Recall Year 1. Just totaled those up yesterday to try to give the factory an idea. Actually, this is interesting. This is the prototype 3D printed stand that I was making from the house, and then you just saw the more refined one from the factory. All right, so this is Dark Reapers, and let's go ahead and set him down, and then drop his accessories out. All right, so Dark Reapers is basically infantry, and he's armed to the teeth. He's got 3 guns, and he's coming in there to shoot things and blow things up. This is a nice little piece right here. So you got some flashbang grenades, and these are made separately and then pegged on. So when we do a future Dark Reapers officer, we'll probably get rid of the flashbangs and we'll put a different accessory there, maybe a communications device or something, to kind of differentiate the officer from the standard Dark Reapers. All right. Make sure that head rotate. Oh yeah, there we go. Let me check him, see if he's, I should have done that on him. Yeah. I'll get him to check the head rotation, make sure they rotate left to right a little bit more. I mean, you can turn from there to there. I feel like you could look a little wider range there. So that might be something a change we can make on the engineering side of things. Yep. All right, and then let's check the knees, moment of truth. All right, the knees are bending all the way. The hips are bending all the way. You will be able to sit down in your vehicles. And you see he's got a peg hole here. That's for one of his guns. We want their loadouts to be portable. So if you have, a bunch of accessories, we want you to be able to carry them. Just checking these joints. Yep, everything is functioning as we would expect. This is such a great design. Shout out to Chris Scott, who gave us the reference material for this and got us started on this figure. But Dark Reapers is a really, really cool looking figure. So he's got these shin guards that are made for climbing, like over walls and that kind of thing. So they got a little ridge in there and you kind of catch it on that and push yourself up. So I love those shin guards. It's a really nice detail. Again, we've got very intricately detailed boot treads, as you can see right there. We got the peg hole with a couple straps for the pistol over here. So the straps actually hold the pistol on, aesthetically from a visual standpoint. You got the knife up here. You got some pouches on the hips on both sides. You've got a nice little communications kind of electronics pack back here. And then you've got a nice little electronics pack back here. This guy was designed by Ron Rudat. If I didn't say it earlier, Breacher and Hellhound were designed by Mark Pennington. These are former G.I. Joe Real American Hero designers. Ron did 1982 to 1987, and Mark did 1987 to 1989. So those are our two designers for Operation Recall. And we got a beautiful little split skull logo here from our friend Malcolm Zydek. And he submitted a character concept, Cadavers. And it had such a cool little logo with it that we ended up kind of peppering this throughout the bad guys' designs. You can see he's got the body armor there on the front, and it's got some battle damage. It's got some staples holding it together, and it's got some bullet holes. Really, really amazing details here in this figure sculpt. I can't wait for you guys to have these in hand. All right, so let's look at the accessories. You've got your pistol right here, and this one just pegs right into the leg. Very nice. And again, the straps are already there, so it kind of explains like why that pistol exists right there on the hip. And Ron Rudat asked for a removable pistol, and I was like, you know what? Typically it would be molded into the thigh and you would pour in under the undercuts, and that always looked kind of chunky on a Real American Hero. And Ron Rudat asked for removable pistols here, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we try it? Why don't we just peg one in and see if we like it? And I think I like it. I think it looks great. Now, the flip side of that is when you unpeg it and take it out, it's still in the holster. So, I'm probably going to leave it on, but I like the aesthetic of it. I think the look of it looks really, really great. And again, these flashbang grenades are pegged on as well, or glued on. These will be more permanent. All right. And then this is the kind of giant blaster that Ron Rudat created for Dark Reapers. We're calling it the Reaper, I believe. And yeah, you see how that hand flexed a little bit, and you could just push it right around that thing and it contracted back. I am loving the softer plastic on these hands. It's kind of like the hands that you get with the 4-inch modern G.I. Joes that started in 2007, but you're still getting this awesome O-ring, very durable play format. So you're getting kind of the best of both worlds. You get this really timeless aesthetic of 3 3/4, and we're going to have a little range, and I'll talk more about that. But you're getting this really timeless form factor, 1/18 roughly scale, but then you're getting improvements in terms of like the articulation on the wrist and the flexibility on the hands, makes it easier to grip weapons, makes it less liable for there to be breakage. And yeah, these guys are looking great. I cannot wait for you guys to play with them. Wow. That's a pretty cool pistol too. It's got an extended magazine right there underneath it. I think I want the handle on the KSG to be a little longer. I'm going to check my KSG and see if it really comes, down to the palm right there, if it sticks out a little bit. I'm thinking it sticks out a little bit, so I think I'm going to ask for that to be a little longer. I like how this feels. You can see where the grip ends, right where the hand is, but then the extended magazine goes down a little bit beyond it. I really dig that look. And, the KSG does not have magazines like that, but I just want to check the look of it and make sure that we're not coming up, kind of short. So here's a good look at getting this rifle into this hand. You can push just like that and kind of force it in there, and you're not going to break that hand. So I think that's a huge win, because the rigidity of the old hands, notoriously in 82, but also in some of the Slaughter's Marauders broke quite a bit. Anyway, there's the Reaper weapon, his big old rifle, and you see his pistol there and his other pistol there, and he's got a couple flashbangs on the forearm. So he is loaded, and this is the bad guy. See the split skull again, and then you also see the two dogs, because the name of the bad guys is Orthos, and in Greek mythology, that's a two-headed dog. I think it's the brother of Cerberus, if I remember correctly. So we're going to set the Dark Reapers here. We'll have him doing combat with Hellhound and Breacher. All right, so we'll set them up opposed to each other. Get your guard up, Breacher. All right, there we go. Hellhound's taking a nap. All right, number 3. Number 3 should be Mazumu Core. Yeah. All right, so there's a lot to this guy. Before I say too much, I want to say one of the things we know we're doing is we're increasing the size of this head by about 10%. So let me go ahead and get that out of the way. I know his head looks a little bit small, and trust me, we are already on it. So what you're going to see here is a few sets of arms. Oh, I got to go get that UPS package. I'll be right back. All right, now back to Mazumu Core. So I feel bad giving a spoiler at this point, but I kind of want to just go ahead and do it. So what you're going to see here for Mazumu Core are the ingredients for a variant, number 1, and a second year release, number 2. So the first year release is going to have the same deco, and it's going to have different arms. The different arms have different scarification patterns. So scarification patterns are these little dots right here. And that's actually made, by hand, kind of a rite of passage for many Africans is, it's a rite of passage, but it's also to commemorate big events in their lives and that kind of thing. So this is kind of like tattoos for these guys. So he's got a few rings right there, and then he's got another ring right there, and then he's got another ring right there. And it's symmetrical on both of these arms. I love the chainmail kind of shirt that he's got here. The detail on that is just fantastic. Again, you see the Orthos kind of split skull icon right here on the head. So he's a little masked trooper, and that looks great. And then he's got his little knot top for little dreadlocks. But underneath and covering his face and his neck is a balaclava to kind of keep his anonymity. Let's check these knees. Knees are good. There we go. Details on the sculpt are amazing. Once again, we've got some nice intricate treads, and you realize we're not using the same treads over and over and over again. We're actually creating unique shoes for each of these guys. So they're really just doing an amazing job with the level of detail here, because this actually didn't come into play until the digital sculpting. I think Mike Good and Bill Merkline kind of sidestepped putting texture on the boots because they didn't do that back in the day. And so our digital sculptors, both working with the factory and working with Carter, have added that detail. My dad had these jungle boots growing up, kind of the Vietnam era jungle boots with the black and green, and I always loved them. And so these guys are the jungle troopers. These are bad guys, but they're jungle troopers. And so I wanted them to have those old black and green jungle boots like my dad always had around the house. And yeah, just look at the fabric detail here. Got pockets on the left side, got a pistol on the right side. Looks amazing. Level of detail is incredible. You know, the fabric wrinkles, not only on the fabric, but on the pockets themselves, a couple little clasps on each side for the pockets, very detailed webbing for the belt itself. Nice side pockets on the hips. You got a few more pockets there. Rob Liefeld would approve. All right, so this gives you an idea of a standard Mazumu Core figure. Now, the variant for this, he's going to have the exact same deco, but he's going to have a different set of arms with a different skin tone. So these are all African dudes, so they're going to have darker skin, but there's going to be varying shades of skin tone there. So there's going to be 3 shades of skin tone on the arms, and that's because the third set of arms is kind of the most detailed in terms of scarification. If you guys have seen Killmonger from... let's see, Black Panther. You guys probably seen that movie. Killmonger had these. So it's called scarification, and it's not uncommon. And those are the arms with the most scars. And, of course, that's going to be for the leader figure because he's kind of the most fearless and has just really gone to town with the scarification. And then here's the second set of arms that you can see. And, yeah, these just look beautiful. There's, as you can see, it's kind of like a curvy pattern up there. Yep. So you got 3 sets of arms. Now the difference on the leader figure is you're going to have an unmasked head. And there he is. This was originally sculpted by Mike Good, and he is just an incredible sculptor. The expression, the level of detail on these head sculpts are incredible. We're very, very fortunate to have his partnership on this project. And Bill Merkline was the one that recommended him back in the 80s. And Bill Merkline recommended him yet again for me just a few years ago. So thank you, Bill. So Bill and Mike have sculpted all these figures. And then Carter and another gentleman from the factory have been doing the digital revisions. So you'll have your separate leader head. And again, you'll have the kind of Killmonger arms. And you'll have, yet again, a third kind of level of skin tone there. So he's got a Orthos figure stand. We'll go ahead and put this guy on that. All right. And you got 2 pegs there if you want to. You could put both feet in it, but of course you don't have to. Now, he's got an awesome backpack with a few grenades up top. But really what this backpack is 3 ammo cans strapped together. And Mark Pennington designed this. It's 3 ammo cans that are just belted together because this guy's a minimalist. He wants to carry ammo. He wants to carry a machete. He wants to carry some grenades. Maybe he's got some snacks in his pouches there. All right, so here is the machete that slides right in up top there. And you can tell which way it goes by the curve of the blade than the curve of the shroud or whatever. Yep, look at that nice friction fit. That's not coming out, right? Mark Jerwig is a genius. He's designed all these accessories, and I've been 3D printing them at home on my Form 3, and they always work so well together. It's like first print and you got that nice friction fit. Very rarely have these needed any modification. Now, one of the things they've done at the factory is gone in and added like a little bit more handle details on these. So we're getting very detailed on the sculpts here. Like we are really dialing it in. All right, so you got a friction fit on the machete, and then you have a really nice long ammo belt. And there's 2 ammo belts here that they wanted me to try. Now, this one feels a little floppier than this one. And this one also has a solid, like a square piece at the tip, whereas this one just has the bullets at the tip. Now, the square piece at the tip is going to be a more snug fit on the backpack. So we're going to try that one first. All right, just like that. And that is snug. Like you can hold the whole thing by that. That is a very snug fit. And I like the way that that feels. That's not coming out. And, you know, aesthetically, it goes away, right? Like you don't see it once it's in the backpack. So I think that's a winner. We've all dealt with belts like this that are kind of flimsy and, you know, they fall out once they get a little worn down and that bullet on the tip kind of gets worn down. It's not going to stick very well. So I think I'm probably going to like that. Okay, and then guys, when you put this into your gun, make sure the bullet points are going forward. You guys already know that. But, you know, if I hire somebody to do product photography and they stick it on the figure with the bullets pointing backwards, I'm going to be upset about that. And best believe, you know, I'm going to check behind them. That's not happening on my watch. All right, so there's his backpack pegged in to the back. Nice and snug fit, nice and flush. It's one of the revisions that we had to do was make sure that that peg was sized exactly right so that it would be flush. Now, he's got the bullets come out of the left side of the rifle, and that's how the rifle is. So you have to decide, do you want him to be left-handed and the bullets stay away from him, or do you want him to be right-handed and the bullets cross in front of him? That's up to you. And since he's an army builder, you could do it different ways for different people. So he looks amazing. And this ammo belt is more than long enough to traverse that distance. So yeah, he looks incredible. All right, and then the last thing I should mention is this weapon has a bipod. And so these are African troopers. We picked a machine gun that is made by a South African manufacturer. So if there's a geographical location for a figure, then we want to try to do weaponry that they might actually be getting their hands on regularly. And so these guys are armed with a South African machine gun. And they look awesome. They look fantastic. I think the belt is plenty long. Backpack is nice and flush. Machete is snug. Nothing's falling off. Belt is staying in. Nice and long ammo belt going directly from the 3 ammo cans on the backpack around to that machine gun. One of the things I didn't like about the vintage figures back in the day, a lot of times these ammo belts were way too short. And it really messed up the kind of functionality, the play fun of dealing with a rifle whose ammo belt was way too short. Really messed up your ability to pose with them. So we wanted to make sure that that does not happen with Mazumu Core. All right, so there's Mazumu Core. And of course, there's the leader head and the leader arms. That's a year 2 figure there. And then here is the alternate year 1 arms. And we're not using this head. This was the head with the balaclava without the mask. But we're not going to be using that. I like the mask. I prefer the mask. I've got to do some testing. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that with this softer ammo belt. Might as well go ahead and do that. You guys are obviously being patient with me if you've watched this far while I'm getting packages delivered. Yeah, I don't like this belt, man. Comparatively speaking, you can jam it in there, but it's not like a friction fit. I don't dig it. I'm going to stay in put, and it is softer. So, you know, you can push it around a little bit easier, but it's just not, it doesn't have that friction fit there. So I think we go with the little bit more rigid material personally. All right. So that's Mazumu Core, and he's incredible. All right. So the last Wave 1 figure is the leader of Orthos, General Mortifero. Okay, let's see what we got here. Ooh, we got some colored fabric in here. So we will be going back and looking at this cape again. The cape is not final, so that's another one of the things that are going to be updated and changing. Put some of this stuff away, clear this out. Jam over here. 1 second, guys. All right, so General Mortifero is our leader. He's our big enemy commander. Super evil dude. I love his aesthetic, man. He's got this big, he's got these riding boots, got these straps down the sides of them. Again, we've got nice detail on the bottom. Shout out to Carter for all the amazing work he's done on this. I actually think Mazumu Core and Mortifero were done by Big Joe's factory modeler. And then Breacher and Hellhound and Dark Reapers were done by Carter. So shout out to Big Joe for managing the process on this guy. And so you can see the split skull detail there again on his belt. He's got these kind of pop-out German World War II inspired pants. He's got these nice riding boots with these straps going real high. Let's go ahead and check those knees while we're here. Yup. Let's go ahead and make sure he can sit down. Yup. There you go. Looking good. And as you can see on his belt, he's got a little peg hole here. And that will be for one of his accessories that we'll show you here in just a little bit. It's kind of a ceremonial knife. He's got a little pocket right there on his belt. And he's got a bigger pocket over here on his belt. And then hidden behind his back is a little dagger to slice you with, because you can't trust this guy. Don't turn your back on him. He'll pull something out on you. And then the cape right here has a nice little wire in the bottom of it. When we do soft goods, we're going to do soft goods for and we're going to do soft goods for this guy's cape. Now this cape, my goal for this is we're actually going to make it a little bit wider. And if you can picture, we're going to cut it, and then cut it, and then fold those two parts in, and it's going to circle around more. So we want more coverage on this arm. And my thinking there is that he has his pistol kind of tucked away behind this little cape right here. Beautiful amount of detail here in the torso. He's got kind of these high riding gloves again. Yeah, he's a very regal looking figure. Look at all the fabric. Look at all the design, the details in there. And this was sculpted by Mike Good, scanned, and then touched up by the factory. But I guarantee you 90% of the wrinkles and folds in there were all made by hand with handmade tools by Mike Good, who's an incredible figure sculptor. Just look at the level of detail there. Just incredible. Incredible. It looks amazing. All right. So there's going to be another spoiler here, guys. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I will tell you we're working towards a second release of this figure. And that second release will reveal who he is. So there's Mortifero unmasked. And you will get that. Well, I don't want to tell you when you're going to get that, but it'll be sooner than later. Another amazing head sculpt by Mike Good. Thank you, Mike. All right, so what accessories does he come with? Now, he's got the figure stand. I'm not sure why this one is tan compared to the other ones, but it is. I'll test that out. There we go. Now, I mentioned earlier that he has a peg on his belt. That is for his ceremonial sword. So this guy is not like, you know, if I think of him like a Cobra Commander kind of character, this is not his battle armor. This is not his field battle armor. This is him chilling around the base, intimidating the hell out of his people and making them, you know, live in fear of him. So he's got a ceremonial sword that pegs in right there on the waist. And he uses that for executions when he feels so inspired. He also has a spiked hammer, a ball-shaped spiked mace hammer, and that looks awesome. And then he's got a Lang version of the Walther, which is a very rare pistol. There was not many of these made, and so I figure he's an ornate. Oh yeah, look at how that hand holds the pistol. See how you got that little trigger finger? It's those little details. I really enjoy that. They did that with Delta 17, and I'm working with the Delta 17 guys. So Stephen Plett, Ken Poe, great guys, and you know, they wholeheartedly recommended the project manager that I'm working with and the factory that I'm working with, and I can't thank them enough. So we're aiming to have compatibility with them, and we're also using this little trigger finger on the hand that they kind of pioneered. So shout out to those guys. I think it looks fantastic. I really enjoy it. I think we might make the pistol just a little bit longer though, and we might make the grip just a little bit longer, having seen it in hand. So yeah, we're going to make some modifications to the cape so that it does more of a wraparound, so the pistol can be kind of held there underneath it. And other than that, I think he's all set. All right, guys. So what do you think? Who's your favorite? Let me know in the comments. I hope you guys enjoy seeing these guys come together. This is just, I'm living the dream over here. I'm working with super talented people to make really awesome action figures, and you guys are along for the ride. So I can't thank you enough for helping us bring these figures to life. They're looking amazing. You know, there's a lot of steps involved, and I've covered that in all the updates. We're not skipping any steps. We're going to do these right. We're going to make sure they're top quality products. We're going to make sure that they can sit down like they're supposed to, sit in the vehicles like they're supposed to, grip their weapons properly. And we're going to do like aesthetic upgrades like him with the left hand that's kind of pushed forward. So when you're holding a China Lake, it's more of a offensive, assertive pose than kind of holding it upwards like he's currently doing with this hand. So everything we're doing is for the betterment of the product. And I will always err on, you know, taking the necessary steps and doing whatever we can to make the product better. And I think you guys have seen that, you know, with the Omnibus hardcover. We were about a year late on the hardcover, and nobody complained once they got it because the hardcover was amazing. So it's worth, you know, taking the time and doing it right. And I appreciate you guys being so patient with us as we go through these steps. And I will say, once these guys launch, I hope that we get into a regular rotation of 4-figure waves. So this is just the first wave. We're creating 19 figures, maybe 20. And I want those to be coming out at regular, predictable intervals. If it's every 3 months, if it's every 6 months, I don't want it to go longer than 6 months. But I want to be having a wave of new figures for you guys to look forward to and for myself to look forward to every 3 to 6 months. And I think we're going to get there. And we're already developing year 2 with Ron Rudat and Mark Pennington. So that's going to be badass. We're just going to keep this thing rolling, man. Hopefully things go well. Tariffs don't, you know, cripple us too bad. And we can just afford to just keep this thing rolling right on to year 2, because that's my dream. I don't want this project to go away. This project is too much fun for it to go away. So I hope you guys are loving it. Please share it with your friends that collect toys. They can still go to Operation Recall. They can look at the roll call page and see all 19 year 1 figures that we are currently developing. 20's in development, but I don't want to spoil it. And go ahead and click on that BackerKit button on the homepage at Operation Recall and jump on in and select which figures you want. Come to Joe Fest. Come to DFW. See these prototypes on display at Joe Fest and DFW. See all 19 Paint Masters will be on display at Joe Fest and DFW. I'm going to both shows. It's going to be a crazy week and a half. Come to those shows, check out these models, check out the Paint Masters, and make your final selections on BackerKit, and we'll close that out probably in late June. Thank you all for your support, and I look forward to you guys checking these out in person at one of the upcoming shows. Take care.